Welcome to the Leedz Edutainment Podcast, featuring in-depth interviews with people in hip-hop culture, based out of New England. Leeds. All right. What are they doing in your building? What are they fixing over there?
No, they're just fixing there's some leaky pipes in the bathroom going to the other apartment, so they're sorting that out. Domesticated shit.
Well, at least it's not going into your apartment.
Yes, that is a definite positive spin on that one. Absolutely.
And on that note, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Leedz Edutainment Podcast. We got a very special guest today, producer Marco Polo. How are
What
you?
up? I'm good, man. I like the Hard to Earn poster on the wall.
Yeah, you saw that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, how can you not?
It's a very influential album to me. We are pretty close in age. You're born 79?
That is correct.
Yeah, you're December, right?
Right at the end of 79. I was almost an 80s baby, like 5 days away.
I'm July 79.
Ah, okay. You got me for almost 4 or 5 months. No,
Did you graduate in 97 or did they keep you back a year because you were December birthday?
No, I graduated with everybody in the same year.
Like 1997 or 1998?
I have no fucking idea. Are you talking about high school right now? I don't remember
Yeah.
any of this shit. Yeah, no, I don't. I don't think my birthday kept me. I think I was in the same year as everybody else. So yeah.
Well, sometimes if your birthday's later in the year,
Right. No.
they hold you back. Yeah.
I don't think that applied to me. I think I was
Oh,
good.
nice.
Yeah,
Oh, good. So, nice. Toronto, right? Born and raised in Toronto, right?
that is correct. The
What's
outskirts of
that?
Toronto. Yep.
The outskirts. I don't even know the inskirts. What's that like?
Well, it's like where you go somewhere, anything that's like 20 minutes outside of Toronto. If you're not going to say that when you meet someone in another country, you're not going to be like, I'm from Malton, Ontario. I'm Toronto. So where was I
Ah,
technically born? Etobicoke, Ontario, which is in the greater Toronto area. Then I moved to Malton, then I moved to Richmond Hill. Only Canadian people in Ontario and Toronto will know what I'm talking about right now. But growing up in that area was great. We had a great music scene. Canada's definitely a different vibe. It's much different now than when I started listening to hip hop. I grew up listening to Maestro Fresh West and Cardinal and Choclair and Socrates and Michi Me. And then this is way before Drake and Weekend era of Canada. So that's the era I came up in. And then I moved to New
yeah.
York in 2001. So Toronto was great. We had good shows, but it was still a small, very small scene.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I'm from a small little town in New Hampshire, and I would just tell people New Hampshire.
Right. What's the name of where you're actually from?
Sandown, New
Right. So
Hampshire.
you're just not going to, because people are going to know what the hell is that. So you just say New Hampshire. Right. I get it. So
So
that's what you know.
I say Sandown. They're like, "What's that?"
But this is a great lead in, actually. This is a great
Yeah.
lead in to the new album, me and Master Ace's second album. We just handed it in, and we're calling it Richmond Hill, which is the city I grew up in Toronto, in the outskirts, Richmond Hill, Ontario. So when people see that title, know that that is the Canadian city outside of Toronto where I grew up. It's more about my story, and now that'll connect to this interview and why it's important to be specific. So
Be on the lookout.
be on the lookout.
Um, Canada is, you talk about the hip hop scene, and I remember those artists, Choclair, Cardinal, Fischel. I don't remember some of the other ones you mentioned, but those two I remember.
Mm-hmm.
But Canada seems to have like a really good hip hop scene right now. I mean, the fans, they really are into it. Certain types of hip hop, they're really into like underground hip hop from what I've seen. Maybe not the mainstream, but there is an audience that's into it heavy.
Oh, always has been. No, we have crazy
Nice.
hip hop heads. I mean, ask any East Coast New York group that did a show in Toronto in the 90s or
Yeah.
2000s. They got crazy love. Toronto goes
Yeah.
nuts for anything Boot Camp, Wu-Tang, Native Tongues, anything Detroit, anything Buffalo, they're gonna sell out. Of course, my cat Cola's making an appearance right now.
Is that the cat that was on the Afro album tied in? Is
No,
that
that was Misha. Rest in peace. She passed away, poor baby. She was sick. This is my new cat named Cola, who I
Hola?
can connect to a hip hop conversation because she was given to me by Little Fame of MOP. He called me during the pandemic right at the beginning. He's like, "Yo, me and my wife found this cat. You want this cat?" And I was like, "Yes, I do." So I consider Cola a member of MOP technically.
Nice, dude. MOP
Yep.
fam right there.
MOP. She's crazy too, so it makes sense.
That's I mean, it's good to see because the artists they do tour Canada and they're like, yo, the response is crazy.
Always, yeah, yeah, yeah. Canada loves anything but Canadians. That's always the thing. We'll support anybody but our own, you know. But that seems to be the thing with any like city. They kind of shit on their own, and then anyone else gets crazy love, which is fucked up. But yeah,
My short experience was really just Montreal, drinking underage, getting wasted and going over the border, drinking underage, coming back. That was my extensive trip to Canada,
Montreal is a
unfortunately.
great city to party. Just don't go there in the wintertime. Good God. It's so cold.
Why?
So
Yeah.
cold. Yeah, it's freezing.
The French were a little heated when I was in Montreal the last time. They were protesting something. I don't know what was going on.
Yeah, but they're always aggravated over something, especially French Canadians. There's always an issue.
Yeah.
And they're an interesting bunch in general. So yeah.
Ah. So you're not French at all. You're not French.
Oh no. Oh no. We took it in school. Yeah. No, no. My parents were born in Italy.
Oh yeah, that's right. I read that. The other thing I read is you a little bit. You mean more similarities between me and you is we got in a fair share of trouble when we were young.
Yes. I did get
You
into
mentioned
trouble.
you mentioned in an interview you were sent off to rehab at 16, 17 or something.
Earlier than that. So I think I went to rehab about 15 years old. I spent a year in multiple facilities in the United States because Canada, while we had rehab, the best rehab, ironically, is in the United States of America. So I went to a place called Hazleton, which is actually the most famous rehab place in the world.
Yeah,
And
they
it's
have literature.
it's in Minnesota area. And there's an adult facility and a children's facility. And I went to the youth facility. Sorry, let me turn off my WhatsApp. This is insane. Um, and yeah, I got kicked out in like 3 weeks. I made out with some girl, which is against the rules. So then my parents had to scramble and find me another halfway house and wait 30 days to be resubmitted into Hazleton. That was the rules. If you broke the rule, you got kicked out for 30. And then I went back and was committed to an even longer program in Hazleton called extended care, which is a minimum of 6 months. So I did my 6 months. And then I went to another halfway house in Opelousas, Louisiana called New Beginnings, which is kind of like a little bit of an adjustment into like the real world because Hazleton's like almost like a lockdown. You'll go to the YMCA twice a week, where the halfway house you had an apartment, you were grocery shopping, but you were still monitored. And then finally, I went back to Toronto and I stayed fucking clean since 16. I'm 43 and never a drop of alcohol or any drug use since then. So I'm just naturally crazy.
Yeah, it's a very uncommon story. I mean, the
Yeah,
good,
most kids go back to using.
right. What do you think? Why was yours experience different? You think?
On some real shit, it's a couple things. I was very young, so it's still debatable, which is a controversial opinion that am I a lifelong addict? I don't know. I do know that I was doing a lot of crazy drugs. And to be specific, I was smoking crack, I was doing coke, I was smoking heroin. That's heavy shit for a kid my age. And I
Absolutely.
was getting in trouble. Like I was flunking out of school. I wasn't going to school. My parents spent a lot of money to send me to rehab, like talking remortgage the house, like probably like 100 grand. So coming out of rehab, I was like, if I smoke a joint, it's like $100,000 joint. Like I'm gonna chill on that. I'm gonna be respectful. I'm not gonna be a complete piece of shit, which is what most kids at that age would do. They'd just be like, fuck this. I'm gonna go back to being a kid. But I was like, I can't do this. I got to use that as an opportunity to reset my childhood and like make something of myself. And in many ways, it was because I stayed and like got focused on music and really committed to that idea and like followed it through. And I made something of myself, or at least I'd like to think I did. So
you you also I also mentioned that you had a little bit of a klepto problem going on with some CDs.
you're
Is that
like
true?
the Nardwar shit today. I like
Well,
it.
the reason I bring this up too is because I was a bit of a klepto with
Yeah.
CDs
So
as
this
well.
you're absolutely right. And you know what? This ties into my love for hip hop and actually so yeah. So when I left rehab, I started working in specifically in music stores. And yeah, and I was discovering hip hop. So I was starting to steal all these fucking rap CDs or ordering rap CDs and steal like I was doing crazy shit And finally, I got busted at one of these stores. It's a
Yeah.
big chain called Indigo Books. It would be like the Barnes and Nobles of Canada, Indigo.
Yeah.
And I was stealing a bunch of shit. And they're like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And they love me so much that they're like, "We're just gonna fire your ass, but like you're lucky we don't take you to court and like really try you." And that was like the third job I kind of had lost from this little addiction of collecting music. And I said, "All right, I'm going to go to school for music now. No more. I'm going to make this little thing that's turned into like a negative into a positive." And then I went to a music engineering school in Toronto.
Yeah. I got caught too. I stole a lot of CDs. I have had to make some financial amends to that over the
Oh,
years. And
right, right, right. I know all about
my
making.
whole tech, my whole technique was the flannel era. So I would have like a flannel on, and then I would just tuck the CDs and button the flannel. I'd rip off the sensor and just tuck them all in, and so it'd be tucked in and walk right out. We have a buddy system, so someone distract the
Yeah,
staff.
I took it to the next level. I was like, I don't want to like steal one or two. I'm gonna work from the inside, bro. I'm gonna get a job. I'm gonna order the shit and steal it from the inside. So
That's crazy. That's that. Yeah, you got me on that one, dude. So you went to engineering school in Toronto?
every city has one. They have like in New
Yeah.
York, Full Sail. I'm sure there was one in New Hampshire where it's like, learn about the music business and how to engineer, and we'll help you get a job in a studio. So it's kind of like that. It's called the Harris Institute for the Arts. And it was cool to go there because I met a lot of cool people that ended up being a heavy part of my life. Most significantly, Shy the Beat Yoda, who taught me how to make beats. Um, and then I got my own internship in the States through common friends. But that school was important. It was just an important part of the story. Um, but yeah,
So it was just like engineering school, right?
yes, they had some like music industry courses, like learn math and learn like what all the technical stuff is, basic acoustics. Like just if you want to work in music, let's do the gamut. Let's be besides
Yeah.
technical, like say you do a tour, what are the expenses? Like it was, I mean, it was some of it was pretty valuable. How do you shoot a music video? How do you like there was positives about it, but they didn't come through on their promise of getting me a job in the music industry. That part I had to do myself. But I'm glad I
Yeah.
did because I got a better job than they would have ever got me, which was an internship through my friend Ayatollah, who's a legendary producer at a
Yeah.
studio called The Cutting Room in New York. And that's where my journey really started to take off.
Yeah. That's a legendary studio.
I would say so, yeah. It's definitely not discussed as much as the other ones, but notably, they were involved in a lot of the early Raucous Records releases. Um,
Love it.
Another point of pride for them was that's where Just Blaze got his start. So,
Oh,
um, but yeah, man, there was a lot of legendary things going on in there, but specifically like R&B and hip hop. They did other genres as well, but I met everybody there, and most importantly, I met two key players in my story, which was Pumpkinhead, rest in peace, and probably the most important to this day is Master Ace.
yeah. Talk about Pumpkinhead because he does, he was so underground. Like only like you had to be like a diehard underground head to know Pumpkinhead. Talk
Yeah,
about him for people that don't necessarily know about him and why he was so
there's
special.
there's two eras of Pumpkinhead that people will know. There's like Pumpkinhead, the rapper from New York that came from Park Slope, Brooklyn, that was in Brooklyn Academy. That he came up with Jean Grey and Block McCloud and Will Tell and Mr. Met. There's that, Lyricist Lounge, dynamic 12-inch. And then me and him did an album together called Orange Moon Over Brooklyn. And he was the first rapper to actually let me produce a full LP for one guy. And then he was doing his music thing. And then there's I call it the second era, which is PH, which is the battle freestyle era, where a lot of
Right.
people go from Team Hami, and I wasn't really up in that world, but he definitely had like a resurgence in that world. And I think a lot of people just know him from that. They didn't know prior he was putting out a lot of music. So, those are the two eras that I consider for PH. So yeah, and I would definitely say check out the album we did, Orange Moon Over Brooklyn. It's available on streaming. Good luck finding a physical copy, but I'm proud of it.
And he passed. When did he pass away?
It's been a minute now, man. I want to say 5, 6 years ago. Don't quote me on
Yeah,
it. Don't
it's
quote
all
me.
good.
Things are a blur as I get older, and I'm 10 months off cigarettes, so I feel like I'm so lost this year on everything.
You're
So
10 months what? What did you say? You're 10 months
10
what?
months off Newports. I've smoked for like my whole life.
Oh
So
yeah, so that's the other thing I was going to bring up, your cigarette addiction, which
that's
which I'm sure you picked up in rehab or before.
no. I picked up way before rehab. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I smoked a cigarette before I even smoked weed. Um, it's the
So that
only
was
thing.
the one. That was the one you held on to. It's
Yes.
always the last to go. It's always the cigs are always the last to go.
And I'm 10 months. I stopped this year. January 1st of this year, I said, I'm stopping. And I just stopped. And I still can't believe that I stopped cold turkey. Um, but this year's really sucked. It's really sucked because of that. Like it's been the hardest thing I've ever stopped. Harder than drugs. 100% harder than drugs. Yeah. I don't
Really?
need drugs, but I feel like at times I need Newports. It's just crazy.
Again, I can our stories are similar. I'm clean and sober 14 years.
Oh wow.
Okay. Um, and I had to quit smoking cigarettes about a year and a half into my sobriety. And it was hard. I
It's
use
hard.
Shantix. Shantix at the time, everyone's like, this is just going to give you crazy nightmares and make suicidal thoughts. Well, I was already thinking that way anyway. So I was like, screw
You
it.
had nothing to lose.
Nothing.
Yeah, I had the box. I had the prescription. My doctor had it locked and loaded. He was begging me, and I was like, I don't want to. I read the reviews and I read exactly what you just said. And I said,
Yeah.
I don't like the sounds of that, so I'm just gonna thug it out. And I thugged it out, and it was hard, man. So I definitely would say probably use the prescription for people trying to quit. You know,
Yeah. It's not easy. It's just all mental. You know what I mean? It becomes all mental.
yeah, it is all
But
mental.
you can't have one. That's the key. You just can't have one.
Well, see, the main problem for me is that it was attached to my beat making process. That's what made it a real
Yeah.
fuckery. Is that
And your albums.
I smoked, I literally smoked. Yeah, no, you see me in a cigarette in my mouth on everything. But
Yeah.
I was in my studio every time I make beat, I'm chain smoking. So like it's attached to my creative process. And say what you will about cigarettes, but one proven fact that I didn't know, which makes sense, nicotine helps you focus. It's the one positive about nicotine. It fucking and I have ADD, so when I'm making beats and trying to finish ideas and I'm smoking, it's keeping me grounded. Not a reason to go back to smoke, but it makes sense now that I feel so lost. And when I go to make beats, sometimes I'm just like, I don't even want to finish this. I'm out. Like I lose the focus. I'm not grounded. My ADD goes crazy. Them shits were holding me down. A lot of my friends will hate that I'm saying this, but that's just the reality. Nicotine makes you focus. So a lot of people that quit smoking, they actually take Nicorettes after they're done, even when they're over their cravings, because it helps them, like I said, focus on their work or focus on a task. So very interesting.
One of my buddies, he's a producer too. I was just hanging with him last night. He's been on the gun for years.
Right, but it probably helps because nicotine helps him finish his ideas, right? As a creative,
He has no intention of getting off the gum anytime soon. He's like, all right, no, the gum all day.
right? Well, I mean, that's cool if it works for him. Still better than the cigarettes for sure.
Yeah, I mean, how many were you smoking? Like 2 packs a day? What were you smoking?
Yeah, if I'm in
Wow,
if I'm in the studio, easy, easy.
wow.
If I'm not making beats though, a pack, less than a pack. Hip hop is literally
Newports too.
Newport's the hardest. I used to tell people hip hop is literally killing me. So
It is a dangerous lifestyle. It can be.
yeah, because once I get in that creative zone, I have friends that couldn't watch me because I'm like making beats and like I'm not even noticing that I'm smoking and I'm lighting, and it's just like a chain insanity.
Yeah.
Sometimes where I'm like lighting a cigarette with one that's still in my mouth, like it's
Yep.
insane. And that's why I needed to stop. I didn't want to. I love that shit. I miss it every day. I just knew I was gonna fucking die. So
Fair enough. Some people know that still go.
yeah, no,
Well, good luck on that. I'm gonna tell you, it's worth it in the end. Trust me.
yeah, okay, thank you.
Someone,
I
someone,
need to
someone
hear that.
who's smoked for 10. I smoked only for 10 years, but still, you know.
No, I need to hear that. I need to hear shit like that. It's important. So thank you.
Yeah. Which transitions me into my next one. The Port Authority. Was that obviously now you on the album cover? It shows like a port, but was it really about Newports?
No, so there was a bit of it was a double entendre, as Torre would say. But Port Authority has a significance to me because that's where when I illegally crossed the border on a Greyhound bus from Buffalo from Toronto to
Ah,
Buffalo, I ended up in Port Authority. I mean, that's the place. If you take a bus to New York, you end up, and it's a real grimy. Anytime you have the main bus station in the city is where some fuckery is going on. There's going to be
absolutely.
hookers. There's going to be drug dealers. There's going to be people trying to hustle on tourists, and it just has a vibe. And when I got there, I was like, "Ooh, I'm in New York," and it was like a real thing. So later I was like, oh shit, I smoked Newports. So Newport. And that's why I had an album later called Newport Authority. I was like, fuck it, let's combine everything. But yeah, no, Port Authority was legit like the bus station in New York that, the famous terminal, the bus terminal.
Well, I guess it's better than Ellis Island.
Yeah, I don't even know how I would get to Ellis. I don't even know if you can go to Ellis Island.
Is that still open anyway?
That's a great question. It's a great question. It's an important part of Italian history, though. That's for sure. Because all the
Yeah.
Italians, which ties into my parents, they went to two places. They went to the east coast of Canada, which was Nova Scotia or something like that. That's where my parents ended up. My family, and then Ellis Island was the other place where. So you either went to Canada or New York from Italy. Pick your country.
Yeah. Did they leave? Like when did they leave to come over?
So my dad was born in 51. Rest in peace to my pops. My mom was born in 54. So my dad, I think, came when he was 6. So I would say about 1958, and then
Wow.
probably the next year my mom. So they were 5, 6 years old when they landed in Canada. So for the most part, while they both spoke, my mom still speaks fluent Italian. A majority of their life was they grew up in Canada. So my grandparents were legit like born and raised in Italy, and then everyone migrated. So yeah, they were young when they came over, but still maintained the language. Like none of my grandparents learned English in Canada. Like they just stayed Italian until they passed away. I have one grandmother; she speaks English, but my dad's parents literally never learned English because there was that many Italians in the neighborhood in Toronto. So
Yeah.
they had a community. They didn't need to learn English.
Why leave Italy? I hear such great things about it.
Well, for many reasons: economy, corruption, slow life. Um, I'm going to be honest; they made a good decision on that one. Canada is a stupendous place to grow up and live, and for many reasons. For many reasons.
Nice.
I'm not shitting on Italy, but I just know they're different places. I think more so for opportunity and jobs, it was better. It was better. And honestly, if they didn't do that, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. So it's everything happens for a reason. So
Heard they smoke a lot in Italy.
they smoke a lot in Europe. I mean, they smoke a lot everywhere, but yeah, Italians definitely like to smoke them some cigarettes for sure.
Because
Absolutely.
the reason I said that is because when COVID first hit in Italy was the big one, right? That's what they were saying. Like, because everyone was such heavy smokers in Italy that it was like they got hit extra hard with the COVID.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know if that's
Yeah,
true. That's just
yeah,
one thing I read.
I'm not a doctor. I think they got hit hard because they had an influx of fucking tourists from Asia that were fucking carrying COVID, and that's the first country that got exposed. That's what I see.
Uh,
I'm a smoker. I'm not going to get into
uh,
the details of my life, but like I never even got COVID, and I was like, I thought like you, I was like, I'm the first one that's going to go down. I'm done. I got Newport lung. This thing's going to kill me. I have,
Newport Lung.
knock on wood, never got it.
That's the name of the new album, dude. Newport Lung. I love it.
Yeah, or
So let's
full.
go. Let's get the music. Making beats. Would you? I saw you. Wait, Cool Edit first. Is that what the program was?
Cool edit. No, no, that must. I don't know where you saw that.
I read an article. I thought it said you started on Cool Edit and then went to the MPC.
No. I never started in Cool Edit. I started on the MPC. Yeah, I wasn't making beats in
Okay.
anything with the MPC. I got the 2000 XL. That's my baby to this day. Um, Hold on, let me grab
Yeah,
it right here.
absolutely.
No, this isn't the very first one I bought, but this is my blue one, my
Wow.
2000 XL. And it's to me my favorite machine. I am using something different currently, but that's my baby. Shiloh taught me how to use that machine, and I use that for pretty much everything up until the last couple of years, where I started using a newer MPC that's upstairs in my studio, and I go back and forth now. So, but the 2000 XL is my weapon of choice. Anything else? anything else that I use, I sample it into it. So if I had a keyboard or computer stuff, it's all going into that eventually. It's like the motherboard.
So it's mainly sampling and digging in the beginning.
When I'm using that, 100%. It still is, but now I'm more in the computer world. I have an MPC that connects to the computer, so I'm composing more like my own things to make
Right.
them sound like samples, but I'm always going to sample. That's the foundation of the hip hop production I love.
Talk to me about that process for people that don't know, digging, sampling, what it means to you and how you see, your procedure.
So digging for me, how I interpret it or how I've made it work for me. I mean, to me, it was always about finding something unappreciated and bringing light to it, like finding rare music and reflipping it. You know what I'm saying? Because that's always cool. It's kind of like an educational, like, I'm gonna find you this band you don't know, and I'm gonna flip it up and chop it. And maybe you'll hear it and be like, "That beat's dope. Would you sample? Oh, this band. Oh shit! How come this band wasn't popular when they came out? We don't know." But that's the connection I thought was always dope. It's always easy to take a fucking Stevie Wonder or Michael Jackson song that 8 million people love. And no shots to people that do things like that. But I think it's super dope to find some shit nobody knows, flip it and bring light to it. And then you have this new piece of art. So that's the spirit of how I dig in my sampling, is to find obscure things that nobody knows that I've never seen. That's exciting. To find some shit you never heard and be like, oh shit, am I like the first person to find this? Let me like use this in a beat. And that's what makes some of my favorite producers who they are, because they put that time in finding these sounds. And I'm like, what the fuck was that? They went and found that record somewhere. They fucking got on a plane and went to Brazil. Madlib and Dilla were fucking in Brazil buying shit. Primo's on tour fucking digging. Pete's fucking in the Bronx buying a whole store. He's like, fuck it, I'll buy the whole store. Like, I love those stories. That's a part of, people's journeys. And that inspires me to go, it's so fun. That shit will never stop for me. Whether I like make it a part of my music or not, I love buying records. I love it.
That's great. It's amazing. And you mentioned some legends there. For people that don't know, what made Madlib so special? From a production side, like from a production side, producer, you talking, to sum up, what did he do that made it so unique?
Well, I think first of all, his digging, the records he found, he has a great ear. It all starts with having a good ear. That's what makes a producer is, we're selling you our taste, essentially. Let's be honest. Sometimes we hear a beat and then we find the original and we're like, wow, they didn't really do a lot to it. They just kind of took this loop. And like, to me, I don't judge. It's the fact that it's like still someone saying, I need to like repeat this 2-bar loop from this record you've never heard and give it to the people. So it's always their ear, and then obviously it's execution. It's how he makes beats, how he does his drums, how he does bass lines, how the beats sound, the vibe, how he chops. Every producer has his thing. Madlib's great at like having a great ear for records. Dilla's, then get me started on Dilla. He changed the whole way we think about timing and programming and quantizing and like chopping, and then there's the whole thing of taking a record, to go back to what I was saying, like, like looping a famous record is easy, but sometimes people saying, you know what, I'm going to take this famous record and chop the shit out of it. And then you'll find out that it's that later. And then you're like, oh shit, that's fucking that. Like, that's what us producers do. We try and do nerd shit to impress ourselves so that when people hear it, it's like 30 of us to get hype and no one else cares. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like to get props from like, Preem be like, oh shit, I know what you use. That's dope. Like, it's like this little nerd brotherhood of diggers.
That's great. Now, do you still dig and sample now? Like,
Yes.
I mean, I said you do, but like you also make beats. Read somewhere that you're using like royalty-free samples, or you're buying sample pack. You're using something different sometimes.
To be clear, it's all sampling, whether it's royalty-free or it's
right.
It's always sample. Whether it's the difference is, sometimes I stop sampling older records for
Right.
different reasons. But if you send me a guitar loop and I use it in my beat, I'm sampling you. So sampling is
Right.
always happening. It's just
Right.
the source of the sampling is changing. Yes, now I'm more aware because this is now my business and my career that
Yeah.
I know if I'm going to sample some shit that we can't clear, it stops my money. And not that that's the driving force, but I'm not going to lie. I'm 20 years in the game. Like I think about this shit now. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we're at a place though now that we can make amazing music and make money. I know
Right.
what records sound like. I know what something dope sounds like that makes you feel like, oh, that sounds like something from a record. I can create that with musicians and engineering, and so it's limitless now. So yes, I'm doing everything. I can make some shit with my own two hands on the keyboard to sample. I can sample records. I have the confidence and versatility in my skills to do literally anything I want to at this point.
What about your drums? They hit hard.
Thank
How'd
you.
you get? How good? Like how long did that take to perfect? And what I don't want you to give away your secret sauce, but your drums hit significantly hard than other producers. No, So talk to me about the importance of that.
First of all, thank you. Secondly, it's funny because as you would develop your style as a producer, I always wanted my drums to be the hardest because that's what I heard when I heard a primo beat or P rock is the kick and the
Right.
snare.
Right.
But I didn't know that my shit was starting to become like my signature thing was my drums. So it's dope that it is. And it's so funny because I want to sit here in front for people and be like, yo, this is the secret formula. But there really is no fucking secret formula. It's really just using your ear and picking the right sounds. And honestly, like less is more. Like it's just finding the right sounds, man, finding the right breaks and chopping them in a way. In my MPC, I didn't have any compression or EQ, man. It's really fucking raw. It's raw. It's raw, appropriate sound selection.
I like that.
And maybe,
Appropriate.
and maybe a little sauce in the MPC when obviously the machine you use adds a sound to it. Like if you use an SP1200, Jesus Christ, it's going to give it a sound. If you use an early MPC at 60 at 3000, it has a sound. It beefs things up. It gives it a grit. So obviously the 2000 XL must have a little bit of a sound and punch. That's what I've been told. It has a bit of punch. So if I take a kick drum from a break and put it in my MPC 2000 XL, it probably does add a little flavor just through the converter of sampling. That's the sauce, I guess. And then the way I hear shit and the way, maybe I chop it and loop it and filter it. But I'm not doing anything like it's not like I have some secret thing that I'm like, it goes through this machine and then I drink a potion. None of that. I wish I did because it would be cooler.
How obsessive are you with it?
I'm pretty fucking obsessive, and it's a problem. And it's a problem because half the shit I obsess about nobody cares about, but like 3% of the world. So it's really counterproductive. So I'm trying to get over some of that shit, to be
It's
honest.
hard.
Because at the end of the day, you got to look at like most listeners, like your mom or your dad. They don't care. They're just like, does it sound good or does it sound? They're not going to hear some of these. You're not gonna. My mom's not gonna text me and be like, those fucking frequencies under 30 hertz, man. You really should have EQ'd them out. Like, no one is saying that ever. They're just gonna be
But
like,
but you have to at the same time, you don't want it to irk you. Like every time you hear the track, you're like,
of course, but you can't let it stop you from putting music out. You can't let it delay
that's
you.
for
You can't
sure.
let it cripple you. Some people will have a brilliance on their computer, or it just unreleased forever and not put it out, and that's a problem. Or delay things. It's like you have to commit to something after a while, or just like move on, or like put it out. That's my thing. I force myself to like commit. So yeah, man.
And you've put out a lot of projects. To go back to the projects, to go back to Port Authority,
Mhm.
that was your first like compilation. It's an album, but it's like a compilation
I had
style.
one before that really obscure called Canned Goods, which good luck finding that. That was my first. I don't mention it because it's not to me like my proudest moment. It's like a thrown together beat disc with some songs that I love. But yes, to me, my entrance as like an artist producer is Port Authority, which was 2007.
Was that like over? Did you find yourself getting overwhelmed doing that in the beginning, working
Yes,
with such
yes,
it's like it's a
and I
lot, a
kept
lot of all stars on there.
and I
It's
kept doing
all
it. I kept doing it for fucking two or three more albums, and I was like, I'm gonna kill myself. I can't do this anymore. And that's just because I'm such a perfectionist.
right.
Shiloh is such a perfectionist. We were pushing ourselves. We were pushing the artists we were working with. We just felt a lot of pressure being two white boys. Like everything was just like we just had to make the craziest shit. Whatever we thought was dope, it had to be like 10 notches above that just because we had something to prove. Um, so yeah, man, we always strived for insane. We set these expectations that sometimes we met and sometimes we didn't, but we pulled off a lot of crazy shit. Like, I got Rakim, I got Big Daddy Kane, I got Organized Confusion, I got Artifacts, rest in peace to Tame. Like, I made a lot of my dreams come true. DOS Effects, Master Ace, Large Professor. Like, yeah, I had a good little producer run there, but they fucking almost killed me at the same time because it was so much work and chasing people. And like, I didn't want to be a bill collector after a while. I hated it.
Yeah, and that's what people don't always see when they see a big compilation like that or an album like that with that many features, is that they don't understand the juggling of all the balls to make that happen.
Yeah,
Waiting on a verse here, waiting on a verse here,
absolutely.
get this mix, get that, and I do it myself because I put out compilations. I don't work with as many notable names as you, but I've worked with solid artists, and it's a lot of work. And especially when I talked to Static Selecta, he was like, "I'm done with this. I'm not doing these compilations. I'm sick of chasing people for verses." He's like,
Right.
I just want to do collaborative albums with people, and that's all
Oh
I want
shit.
to do."
Can you hold on 1 second? Sorry,
Yeah,
one
sure.
second. Put this on pause. Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
on a.
Well, looks like the landlords are at the door, ready to make some noise.
Well, you can edit that, right?
Yeah, I took that out.
Okay, perfect.
I paused it. I started it back up when you came back
Awesome.
to the thing.
Yeah, they're smashing something in the wall of my bathroom, so I was like, damn.
Yeah. So the compilation process is very extensive and it's exhausting and it's obsessive and it takes a lot out of you. Basically, the theme of this.
Yeah, I mean, you got to. There's so many factors people don't think about. Like
Yeah.
if I have a song with three MCs, not all the time they're coming to my studio, so I'm gonna have three recordings on different microphones. How do I make them sound in the mix right? That they're all like it's a lot of work, and sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes you have a verse from someone you love, but it's recorded so shit. So you're like, do you put the shitty recording out and just let it go? Or do you not use it? And then we had so many decisions like that to make that make you, I don't have any hair, but whatever I had left, I pulled it out doing producer albums. So
Yeah. I feel you that I had the 5-track posse cuts like with 5 artists on it, all different emailed verses, and that was tough to get that thing sounding right, man. It's tough to get that thing sounding right.
no, it's right. I mean, it's difficult. I mean, ideally, you want everyone to come to your studio, but like I said, if dudes live in other countries or other states, it's just not possible. I'm not Diddy. I can't be like, get on the jet, come to the lab, fam.
No, you can't. Come on, man. Come on. So collaborative, I talked to Marco. I'm sorry. I talked to Torre. We
Right.
were talking about your new album just came out, and I was like, he's like, "Yo, Marco's not. He's not scared to tell these legends to go redo their verses because they weren't good enough." Is that true? Are you
Yes, there
telling
was
me?
there was a point where I was very honest, and I won't say names because I think that that's like personal information
Sure, sure.
between two creatives. But I wasn't doing it to be spiteful. It was just like I just wanted to make the best product. And that there was some times where I regret some of the honesty because in it's tough, man. It's tough. I'm so lucky that the people I worked with when we did have those situations trusted me, in my opinion, to not take it. It's not like I was doing it because they were whack. It was just like, yo, I think we could redo it. The energy, it could just be as simple as do the same bars just with a bit more energy.
Did it come out better?
I'm gonna run through the Rolodex in my head. So there was
I'm
two
just
specific. So for two things, and this let's just be transparent. So one time I changed the beat. I didn't actually touch the bars. I said, you know what? I don't think we're gonna get a better performance. So let me redo the beat, and then it came out great. The second one with the other artist, they redid it for me, and it did not come out better.
ah.
And that one I regret because I don't regret it because that was what I wanted to happen, and he was nice enough to do it. I just feel bad that he did it and I didn't use it. I still ended up using the first take, and this is like a super legend. And yeah, it's crazy. very blessed that people trust me. But I also think they trust me because they know I'm good at what I do, and I don't. It's not a game to me, you know. Like we're trying to make the best music possible. This isn't some like, you know.
Right.
And if I'm putting my name next to these guys who are literally some of the biggest MCs in the world who I grew up listening to, I want to present the best product. So I think they understood that. So at the end of the day, it's not that serious. Like they're just down to work. No egos, you know?
Right. We'll go back to your relationship with Master Ace, which you highlight as one of your more, key relationships. And
That's the
now
word.
you guys are a tour package. Now it's you're doing albums together. Talk to me about how that all happened with meeting him and how that's gone.
So yeah, that was a slow process of just building friendship and touring and us doing a couple songs to him suggesting the idea of us doing an album and then the album happening and then us touring, you know? Um, and yeah, now it's Master Ace and Marco Polo, which I'm sure annoys a lot of promoters. They're like, we don't want Marco, we just want Ace, but I'm coming.
Yeah.
But
I was never annoyed to see you, brother. I was never
thank you.
annoyed.
No, that's just my own like that was just a joke. Like it's always a good time. And I think us together has been a great team. And like,
Yeah.
yeah. But honestly, like, this is a guy who consistency is the first word when I think about Ace. He's been the most consistent in terms of quality of music. So for him to trust me with like a lot of heavy lifting when we do the albums, like he's not used to it. He's even said it. He's a very
Right.
hands-on guy. Now he comes in really and like, we record the bars and we build on, he'll listen to his takes, but like after that, like I kind of run everything. I mean, we're in it together in terms of like, yo, add this drop, but like I kind of take care of the sonics, the mixing, the mastering, and he trusts me with all that. He used to do everything, right, for his own album. So I think there's parts of it he really enjoys because it actually gives him more time to like focus on stuff and we work as it's
Ride his bike. More time riding his bike.
ride his bike, yeah, all types of things. Ride his
Yeah.
bike, work on his musical, but but that's just a team. Like we have
Right.
each other's back. Like if I need to pick up the slack in something, or he does, like that's the great thing about doing this, of being a duo. And yeah, besides having an actual group name, I look at us as a group now. We're on album 2, just got handed in. So, you know,
Right. What's that coming out on? What
Fat
label?
Beats, same label, Fat Beats,
Nice.
who just got bought by Rostrum Records. I just found out, which is crazy. Um,
Is that Wiz Khalifa's first label?
Yeah, which is a big deal for the indie world. That's a big deal. So we've been told that everything is cool and it'll be the same staff. And this is like literally in the middle of our album. So we're like, fuck. But shouts to Eclipse and Joe, the owner, who's still going to be involved. They've always done a great job with us. But yeah, Rostrum, I think you say it, bought them, and they're a bigger
Yep.
company with more money. And from what I've been told, they just want to take the existing brand and expand it. So if that's the case, it's actually a positive thing. It means they'll have
Yeah.
more resources and more money.
More
So that
advertising budget.
that third album budget going up. Now,
Let's get that advertising budget through the roof here. Let's get this album out.
but yeah, we literally just handed in the master for album number 2. It's called Richmond Hill, and we're just literally waiting on a release date. We should have some videos dropping soon. We already dropped a single of like 6 months ago called Certified with the young legends in the making, Coast Contra. Great
Yeah, it was
group.
super dope track.
Thank
And
you.
that production style seemed a little different for you. Seemed like you went into a little different area there. That didn't seem standard Marco Polo to me. Am I wrong saying
Good.
that?
I don't know. It's still me sampling a breakbeat and chopping samples. So, and to me, it doesn't sound so different. Maybe the bounce, the flow of it, the tempo is
Yeah.
fast. So,
Yeah, I think maybe that's what it
um,
was.
but as long as it's a change in a good way, I don't trip. So,
Yeah, no, no, it was dope. Super dope track.
some of my favorite guys, well, specifically Dilla. Like one of the things is that like there's got to be some sort of evolution, right?
Right.
Sometimes I feel like I've made the same beat over and over, and I'm like, I got to try something, even if it
Right.
fails. Like for my own mind, we got to try things. I got to make these drums bounce a different way. I got to not do boom boom bap, boom boom bap. Like I did that. Nothing wrong with it, but like, how can I like
Yeah.
always trying to push myself to do crazy new shit? So
We'll go back to Midnight Run because you just dropped that.
yes,
What was that? 14 years between the first and the second one?
yeah, too long.
You got Torre out of retirement? Is that what happened?
I don't think he ever retired. I think he just like
As
everybody.
far as rap, would tell you, a hiatus. I should say, let me just say retirement. Got Tory out of a hiatus rapping. I think he hadn't rapped for 5 years. He told me.
I don't know. I thought he was always writing. Well, I mean, he was writing rhymes. He just would doing things in different capacity. He was working and writing for other really big
Yeah,
artists.
yeah. But the Tory, the artist, I'm saying, I guess he hadn't put anything out. I think in so
Yeah.
long.
No, you're probably right. You're probably right. Yeah, man. Things life moves on and he's been so successful in so many other areas. Um, so yeah, it was good to get back in the lab. We were on no timeline. We had all this dope music. I was like, bro, let's put this out. Like it doesn't
Yeah,
matter when it was recorded. If you shoot to make timeless music, it don't matter when it comes out. It still sounds fresh. If we never told people that some of those records were 6, 7 years old, no one would know. That's how I feel, you know. So
yeah. No one. You also seem like you did a little bit of a pivot to the Beat series thing. You do the MP on the MP series that you do.
yeah, I just started my own label and I wanted to do something cool. You know, I was inspired by The Alchemist and all these guys doing their own things. And I was like, let me put my money where my mouth is. Let me fund my own vinyl releases and see if I can get some support from my fans for some really, really dope beats that I had sitting on my computer. And that's exactly what I did. And man, it was really successful. I'm really happy about how it went. I did MP on the MP, was the name of the series, and there was three of them, three
Yeah.
records pressed. And we did tapes and vinyl and some gear. And yeah,
Did you sell? I mean, the merch sales. You sold all of it.
so all the vinyl was pretty much sold out. The first one sold out instantly, and then it kind of like each release, it went from like pandemic, we're out of the pandemic, to like now pandemic's over.
Yeah.
That affected everybody's sales, but honestly, I have some personal copies, but for the most part, they were all fairly successful. The first one completely sold out. I don't even really have copies of that, but yeah, it was a great experience. But I wanted to like retire beat tapes for a while because three was good, and now I'm going to be focusing on like Midnight Run and working with rappers for my
Right.
label. So that'll be the focus. Getting back to yeah, that's my
Yeah.
favorites.
Now, Aren't you selling like drum kits or what do they call it? Drum. What am I talking about? It's like sample drums that you sell. What's that called?
Yes, no, it's called drum kits. I'm selling drum,
Drum kits.
or as the kids say, drum packs. Or,
Drum packs. That's what I was looking at.
but I've been doing that for years. I started a drum kit series called Pad Thai. I'm at like volume 8 on my website, marcopolobeats.com. Shameless plug. And
I'm gonna have
then
pad thai tonight. Actually, it's funny you say
there you go. Um,
that.
and then I connected with a Kai, and now I do it for a Kai on a bigger level. And I do Pad Thai Deluxe, which is an expansion series. I've done 3 volumes for the Akai platform, and now I do a lot of sound design for them, and that's been extremely. It's been awesome. My kits, from what they told me, have become the highest selling expansions in the Akai library, which is an honor because I grew up using my MPC, and to be working with them is very fucking cool. Be able to produce and supply sounds for the producer community in the Akai world, the MPC world, is really really cool. So the sound design aspect of my life has become important. Like I'm almost doing more of that than I am music now, which is crazy. So
So, what is actually in these kits?
so when I say expansion, essentially what it is look at it as 24 beats, and you buy the expansion, and essentially every beat, every sound is isolated. So you're going to hit play on the demo, and it's going to play a beat that I made with the sounds, but all the sounds are on the pad. So you could just erase my demo, and now you have these sounds to use however you want. And you can mix and match with the other programs. So essentially, it's kicks and snares, hi hats, basses, Fender Rhodes loops, horns, flutes, all shit that I design with either musicians or myself and curate. And I kind of like beta test it. You know, basically what I do is I go in the studio with musicians. I take that stuff and I make it into like beats and make it into cool sounds that I think producers can then use with their beats. That's really what it is. And I fucking know the dopest fucking musicians that understand hip hop. You know, like someone like J Zone, who we all know as an incredible like producer and MC, and now he's become an incredible drummer. And I hire him all the time to play breaks because he gets it. And I'm like, yo, play this break, or I'm gonna program drums and play it like this, and then I chop it up and I make it my own thing. It's like, yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, Jay Zone, the Do Rights, right? That's his band.
Yeah, the Do Right. Shouts to the Do Rights.
Yeah, I saw an interview of him when he decided he was going to stop rapping and how much he hated it.
He
Did you
is
see
so.
that?
I mean, yeah, I don't really see an interview. He's a peer of mine, so just from watching him, I knew how he felt about.
Yeah,
I have his book. That was it was killing him that
yeah,
life,
it was
and it's amazing to see him reinvent himself as a drummer,
right.
and not even as some like he's my friend. I'm gonna like cheer him on. Like he's a fucking dope drummer.
No, he
like
is good. I see it too.
he's the real deal, and he's got props from Quest and like many drummers, and like I've sampled him. He's been the backbeat of beats on albums. Like, and that's not easy to accomplish. Like, you can't just pick up an instrument and become one of the best like that fast. So it was meant to be for him. It was meant to be. That was his journey. So shouts to Jay Zone.
Absolutely. So you also talk about, you really, I've realized in 2023 is to be a musician in the music business, you got to be diversified in many different areas. Like it's
Hell
not
yeah.
just one thing. And it seems like
Hell
you're doing a pretty good job at it. I mean, you got your streaming, you got your drum kits, you got your merch. You also mentioned some licensing. How has that been beneficial to you?
It's good. It's definitely an area I would love to like. I haven't really locked in with a licensing agency that's really helped me place a lot of stuff, but I have had some really fucking big placements. I did the theme
Right.
song for Brooklyn Nets. Me and Torre had a song in the movie Kick Ass 2. I've been on a Call of Duty and NBA Live and
Right.
some Netflix shows, and so I've had success, but there's so much money in that game. Like I know producers you've never heard of that make more money than fucking some of the biggest
Right.
producers because they just make money for sync because those checks are real deal. Like, and I'm talking about like if you score a theme song for a big HBO show, like you can retire, you know. So to producers out there
Yeah.
listening, like think about the Rembrandts, the people that did the song for Friends. They literally just can eat potato chips on their couch, collecting probably millions in royalties until they die, and
That's
never write another
bananas.
song. Yeah. I mean, it's also probably haunts them at the same time, but like I'd rather be haunted with millions of dollars than the other way around. So yeah, there's so many ways to make money. And unfortunately, what people sometimes don't want to realize because their ego stops them is that the most difficult way is through actually making like music you put out. Like that's the long shot. The actual, it's easier to do it. The syncs, it's easier to sound design. So those are solid, easier ways of passive income as a producer than placing a record on Kendrick's album. Now, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to put things into perspective that once I understood or saw things like that and drop my ego from like, fuck this. I just want to be like, I want to make beats for rappers. Like once I let go of that mentality and said, man, if I just, I don't have to give up that dream, but once I dedicate, let's say 30-40% to this other shit, sound design, sync, beats specifically with no samples, like my money flow completely changed.
That's what it is in this era.
And people talk about passive income. It's all about finding passive income. Like you said, I have my streaming income, I have my drum kit income, I have my merch income, I have sync and license. Then I have music, then I have touring. Like you add all those things together, you got yourself a stew. You know what I'm saying? You got a little stew going.
Right. I think that the more I'm learning now is that's really the approach you got to have to survive.
I tell my friends that all the time. I'm like coming in the game trying to make beats for rappers, like it's insane. It was different
Right.
back then, but like putting all your eggs in that basket, like definitely pursue it, master your craft, become one of the best, put out music, but there's all these other lanes. Like I said, if you don't give a fuck about people knowing who you are or the fame and you just want to make money off music, like you could literally lock in to just make music for background shit on TV shows, random beats. Some
Yeah.
people don't care about the other shit. They just want what's your motive? Let that dictate the path. So, but there's money for everybody. There's so much money.
That's great to hear.
Yeah,
Because
you just gotta just figure it out. So
that's the tricky part.
yeah, you gotta figure out what your strengths and weaknesses are. You know what I'm saying? So
So moving forward, what do we got in the pipeline coming up? We got anything we could talk about? We obviously got
so
the new Ace album, but what else we got? with
So
plans.
then, so to rewind even further, I mean, me and Torre are still only a month in with Midnight Run, so I know things move fast and people forget, but that's a new album, me and Torre, Midnight Run. Go check that out, please. I promise you, it's one of the hardest records you'll hear this year if you're a hip hop head. And then obviously me and Master Ace, the second album. What's it called when it's the second?
Sophomore release.
Sophomore release, Richmond Hill. That'll be coming out for sure in the next 3 to 4 months, maybe sooner. And then, I'm always working on beats and sound design, and I send beats to some rappers here and there, not as many as I used to, but we'll see who I lock in with next. You know what I'm saying? I really always enjoy doing projects with one
Yeah.
artist. I'm less excited to send random beats out to rappers I don't know. I have the luxury of doing that now because I've worked my whole life to like set myself up, but um, it's just so much more fun and creative to lock in with an artist that that likes what you do and be in the lab. That's obviously the best. So
Right.
yeah, it's not always possible. I had to like work to get there, but um, that's the move. That's my preference.
Right. Well, congrats on your success, and I'll let you go because they're about to knock your apartment down in a second here.
There's
They're
the
about
head.
to rip out all your plumbing.
Yeah, I thought they fixed it, but they did not. But yeah, man, thanks for having me. Thanks for thinking about me for your I mean, it's a podcast, correct?
Yes, it is.
Right. Awesome. Well, let me know so I can share the link so if people want to hear me ramble, they can
It's good rambling. It's very informative rambling. I really appreciate the rambling.
this
Didn't
whole
feel
time
like rambling to me.
I'll be honest, the whole time I forgot that like our interactions from the past, and I thought that this was something in the UK because it's Leeds,
Leeds, yeah, yeah.
which is a city in the UK that we recently performed in. So I'm like, did I meet someone at the show? And they're like, this is their podcast, and I was wrong. So I
Yeah, you
feel
don't remember the 2 or 3 Boston shows we've done together?
I remember it all now, bro. Five for me and Ace to come back. Yeah, because you do all the booking at Middle East, right?
I used to, not anymore.
Not anymore. Okay.
After COVID, I was out. But we did the show with you when you did your Rusty Chooks album.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy because that's a legendary night, man. That Sean was there, right?
Yeah, yeah, and that was right when Guru. And that was right. That
We
was right
opened.
when Guru. Yeah, it was right when Guru died, and everyone and you're on camera. You're like F Solar, F Solar. Everyone's going in on Solar, and I'm not even laughing because Guru died, but that was in the air that night, and
And honestly, it's like it's still fuck the high road. It's still fuck that dude. I'm privy to so much information because of my blessed relationships with people in the Gangstar camp, and I
yeah,
don't like the sounds of that guy at all. I don't like it. I don't like it, and I hope that Jesus has mercy on his soul when he gets to the gates because it's not going to be fucking good for this some of the shit that went down. So, anyways, on a positive note, rest in
we'll say
peace.
thank you. We'll say thank you, Hip Hop Jesus, like the T-shirts you're selling.
Yes, on MarcoPoloBeats.com. I literally pressed them up. Yeah, dude. I'm gonna bring you one. Okay. Remind me if we
Please mail me
I,
one.
I got you on a complimentary shirt. Hopefully me and Ace can come to Boston, maybe with your guidance or when we drop the new
Yeah,
album, or me and
definitely
Ray, let us know.
do all 3.
Yes, that means more work for me, which upsets me, but
Yeah,
that doesn't matter. I'm just being
you're already up there. You're already up there. You're
I'm already
fine.
up there, so I'll just stay up there.
Just up there.
But thanks, dude. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. And that's right,
No
dude.
doubt, brother. Well, I thank everybody for tuning in to Leeds Edutainment Podcast. Check us out on all streaming platforms and on YouTube. Thank you, Mr. Marco Polo. We'll talk soon.
All right. Take it easy.
Peace, brother.